United States claims that no one is above the law, yet every year politicians get away with sexual misconduct. They face no repercussions and some still hold office. How is it that the people in charge of our country can't respect women, but are expected to manage a whole country? Hi, welcome to my podcast. My name is Savannah Upson, and today I'm going to discuss sexual harassment in politics and how politicians are getting away with it. Content warning. I will be discussing and explaining sensitive topics including sexual harassment. If you or a loved one has been sexually harassed, you are not alone. If you need help finding support, please visit safehelpline.org or call their 24-hour number at 877-995-5247. Donald Trump, Roy Moore, Al Franken, Mel Reynolds, and Matt Gaetz all have something in common. They have been accused of partaking in unwanted sexual advances on women. Some of their accusations include sexual assault, sexual relationships with minors, and rape. How is it possible for these individuals and many other politicians to be able to hold office following their allegations? The answer is a bit complicated, and I will dive deeper into it in a few minutes. But in the simplest answer possible, the system is flawed and society's views on women play a major role in it. Before we look at politicians, I want to look at unwanted sexual acts as a whole. Sexual harassment is the act of non-consensual sexual behavior. This includes inappropriate comments and physical actions. The Me Too movement was a movement created in 2006 by Tarana Burke. However, the movement did not take off until #MeToo went viral online in 2017. Millions of people all over the world started sharing their stories of sexual violence. The movement now has become a symbol to show survivors they are not alone. It is also used to spread awareness. To do this, the movement collects data and publishes statistics. One statistic that stood out to me the most is that 81% of women have reported experiencing sexual harassment or sexual assault at least once in their life. This is a huge number of women. It is completely uncalled for and unacceptable. No person should ever have to experience that. This statistic doesn't even include the unreported numbers. According to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, RAINN, 2 of every 3 sexual assaults go unreported. The majority of sexual assaults people don't even know about. No matter if the perpetrator was a friend, stranger, or even a politician, it takes a lot of courage and strength to come forward. Some people never feel comfortable sharing their stories, and that is okay. I am now going to transition into talking about how this topic relates to politics and politicians. Let's take a look at Clarence Thomas. He has held a seat on the United States Supreme Court since October 23, 1991, when he was nominated by former President Bush. Before his nomination, Anita Hill, his former attorney advisor, testified against him during his Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. She claimed he sexually harassed her. Hill stated that Thomas asked her on a date on multiple occasions and would talk about her in much detail about sex. Let's listen to a portion of the committee hearing.
You testified this morning in response to Senator Biden that the most embarrassing question involved, this is not too bad, women's large breasts. That's a word we use all the time. That was the most embarrassing aspect of what Judge Thomas had said to you.
No, the most embarrassing aspect was his description of the acts of these individuals, these women, the acts that those particular people would engage in. It wasn't just the breast, it was the continuation of his story about what happened in those films with the people with this physical characteristic.
Do you have a militant attitude relative to the area of civil rights?
No, I don't have a militant attitude.
Do you have a martyr complex?
No, I don't.
but you told the FBI specifically that he never asked you to watch the film. Is that correct? The fact is, flatly, he never asked you to look at pornographic movies with him. Quote, this is not too bad, I can read it. Thomas liked to discuss specific sex acts and frequency of sex, close quote. You said you took it to mean Judge Thomas wanted to have sex with you, but in fact, he never did ask you to have sex, correct?
No, he did not ask me to have sex. He did continually pressure me to go out with him, continually, and he would not accept my explanation as one as being valid.
So that when you said you took it to mean we ought to have sex, that was an inference.
During the testimony, you can hear the senators ask her highly inappropriate questions. This committee held all white men. They did not seem to understand the significance of her experiences. At one point in the testimony, Senator Alan Simpson praises Thomas and calls him remarkable, then goes on to say that she is the only one who has come forward against him. His tone of voice makes it seem like he believes she is lying about what happened. It took a lot of courage for her to share her story in front of the whole country, and yet the men on the committee treat her like it's nothing. She even claimed she had a hard time coming to terms with sharing her story the months and days leading up to her testimony. She even said that only her close friends knew what had happened. This was not an easy thing for her to do. Senator Hal Heflin did not believe she would come out and share her story. He was asking her what her motivation was for speaking out. She did not need to have motivation. She wanted to speak out for herself and do the right thing. However, this was not enough for him. He thought it was something much deeper than that. He even commented on how she was doing it to benefit herself. Clarence Thomas was then confirmed to the United States Supreme Court, where he still holds his position today. He had no repercussions for his actions. Although the FBI did investigate, nothing happened. There was no evidence of what she was saying. It was her word against his. Anita Thomas was failed, like so many other women. Over 25 women have come forward saying Donald Trump sexually assaulted them, yet he was still able to hold office and be the President of the United States. There's even a video recording from 2005 where former President Donald Trump brags about inappropriately groping women. When he was later asked about it, he claims that it was just men's locker room talk. He admitted to it and then tried to justify his actions by saying it is normal for men to talk in that manner. These are the people who are supposed to run our country, and they don't even take women seriously. How does that make them good role models? One of the biggest reasons why politicians get away with their actions is because the process to hold them accountable takes a long time. It is a multi-step process that can take months, and even then it takes sufficient evidence for the case to be held up in court. It is ultimately the perpetrator's word against the victim. The politicians committing these actions know they are wrong, yet they still do them because they know it is so hard to get caught. And even if they do, it will most likely not mean anything to them because they see the people around them who have done these bad things still holding office. When a politician is accused of sexual harassment, their case is sent to the House Ethics Committee. This committee makes sure that all politicians are ethical. The politician will first be put under investigation. During this period, the Office of Congressional Ethics starts a 2-stage investigation. In this investigation, the first stage lasts 30 days, and the second phase lasts 45 days, which can be extended by 12 days, depending on the case. During the investigation period, the committee conducts interviews and collects any evidence that may be present. If something is found, then it is sent back to the House Ethics Committee for even further investigation. This could take months, and even if something is found, it doesn't mean they will be held accountable. Another thing many politicians will do before the investigation gets too far is they will step down. This helps keep their image somewhat clean. Politicians Tim Murphy, Al Franken, and Rob Porter did this. Most recently, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo did this. Here's a small portion of his resignation speech.
Don't get me wrong. This is not to say that there are not 11 women who I truly offended. There are. And for that, I deeply, deeply apologize. I thought a hug and putting my arm around a staff person while taking a picture was friendly, but she found it to be too forward. I kissed a woman on the cheek at a wedding, and I thought I was being nice. but she felt that it was too aggressive. I have slipped and called people honey, sweetheart, and darling. I meant it to be endearing, but women found it dated and offensive. I said on national TV to a doctor wearing PPE and giving me a COVID nasal swab, "You make that gown look good." I was joking. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have said it on national TV. But she found it disrespectful. I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been too familiar with people. My sense of humor can be insensitive and off-putting. I do hug and kiss people casually, women and men. I have done it all my life. It's who I've been since I can remember. In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn. There are generational and cultural shifts that I just didn't fully appreciate.
He takes accountability for his actions, but also denounces the people who went against him in the process. He will never be held accountable for his actions because there will be no further investigation. Since 2017, over 90 state politicians have been accused of sexual misconduct. 33 of those resigned or were forced to leave. Although I only mention men in this podcast, there have been instances of women politicians committing sexual misconduct. Katie Hill is a member of the House of Representatives representing California. She had allegations of sexual relationships and affairs with subordinates and her staffers. However, the majority of sexual misconduct cases are men. There needs to be change in this system. Men cannot keep getting away with the way they falsely treat women. Just because someone holds power does not make them any less of a subject to repercussions. According to the rule of law, there is no one above the law, yet this does not seem to be happening. Unfortunately, without change, this will only continue to happen, and it may even get worse. We must hold politicians accountable for their actions. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I was able to teach you something new about sexual misconduct in politics.